There are stories a river can tell, and truths it cannot hide. There are ways it brings us together that we may never see, connecting us with places we never expected. Places like fear, like betrayal, like murder.
It's a really fine piece of material for actors because it's not about special effects. There's no visual effects. Everything is real, photographed real. It's just good old-fashioned ensemble acting.
You say you were in prison?
Jesus.
Here we go. Buddy, I'm just asking.
16 years ago, I did a 2-year bit for robbery at Deer Island. Is that gonna help you find my daughter's killer? I mean, I'm just asking. Let's forget about that. Let's get back.
Mystic River is a story about 3 kids that grew up together 20 years later, and how their lives have gone off on these different paths, and how they find themselves once again walking the same streets and dealing with each other in a profoundly different way than they did when they were children.
Well, the story deals with, a kind of unimaginable pain.
Is that my daughter in there?
One of them's lost his daughter to a brutal murder, and one of them's suspected of that murder.
Where have you been? Dave. There's still nothing in the paper.
Oh, honey, maybe I didn't hurt him as bad as I thought.
Yeah. Right.
Anyhow, it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, Katie Markham is dead. That seems more important right now.
It's always fun when you have characters that have to overcome something. They're always having to overcome something that's going on in their life and either solve that problem within their psyche or just go on and end up in a painful place.
I mean, all those years ago, when you were a little boy. Dave.
Dave's dead. I don't know who came out of that cellar, but it sure wasn't Dave. You see, honey, it's like vampires. Once it's in you, it stays.
And we've got a lot of those kind of characters in this picture.
There is no resolve possible to any story about that.
It's a very interesting, emotional, and internalized journey, but at the same time, a mystery of this tragic death, finding out who did it.
What gets swept under the rug, and what secrets are people, holding inside?
How about you tell us what really happened Saturday night, Mr. Boyle? And why's your wife acting like she's afraid of you, huh?
I don't know anything about any blood in the trunk of the car.
No idea how half a pint of blood got in the trunk of your car, huh?
None.
This is not the way you want to go, Dave. Well, how's that gonna look in court? I mean, you not knowing how someone else's blood got in the trunk of your car.
Gonna look fine, I suppose. You filed the report.
What report?
The stolen car report. The car wasn't in my possession last night. So whatever the car thieves used it for, you should find out, because it sounds like they were up to no good.
There was an interesting quote by John Huston years ago. He said, you treat every scene like it's the most important scene in the picture, and then everything else will take care of itself. If you can really just take each scene at a time and really get the very best out of it, it'll dovetail together and be very nice.
I loved her. Most. Because when we were sitting in that kitchen that night, it was like we were the last 2 people on Earth. Forgotten. Unwanted. And it really started to piss me off, Dave, because I can't cry for my own little daughter, and I can't even cry for her.
You crying now?
By and large, what we have in this picture is every first choice because the material was strong, and I think most of the actors could see a chance to really perform well in it, and it was fun. Sean was my first choice for the role of Jimmy Markham, and Tim and Kevin and Lawrence Fishburne and Laura Linney and Marcia Gay I've worked with before, and they're both two of the best actresses around, and so it's a no-brainer.
Last night, when I put the girls to bed, I told them how big your heart was. I told them how much you loved Katie because you created her. And sometimes your love for her was so big, it felt like your heart was going to explode from loving her. I told them their daddy loved them that much too. That he had 4 hearts. And they were all filled up and aching with a love that meant that we would never have to worry. And that their daddy would do whatever he had to for those he loved. And that is never wrong.
I like to see what everybody does instinctively. I like to see what the instincts bring to it. And then after a while, we can fiddle with it.
I say we have another talk with Brendan Harris first thing in the morning.
Yeah?
And I say Dave Boyle. The hand story, huh? The wife, she's definitely scared.
Well, they're hiding something, but I think Dave Boyle is about as much a killer as I guess Brendan Harris is.
You were friends when you were kids. This makes you a liability.
Hey, he's not my friend, all right? Turns out you're right. I'll have my cuffs off my hip faster than yours.
But sometimes you just say, well, let's see what happens. Just go ahead. It's all just, you just got to let it unfold. Don Siegel used to call it unraveling. He used to say, just see how the scene unravels.
What if you or I had gotten into that car instead of Dave Boyle?
What car? Yours or me, Jim?
If I'd gotten into that car that day, my life would have been a different thing. My first wife, Marita, Katie's mother. She was a beautiful woman. Regal. But here's the thing, Sean. If I'd gotten into that car that day, I'd have been a basket case. I never would have had the juice to go near her. And Katie never would have been born. And she never would have been murdered. You know?
I was reading a synopsis of this book, Mystic River, in the newspaper one day, and I thought, gee, I like this subject matter. I said, yeah, I want to do this.
We both agreed right off the bat. He was definitely on board with the idea that this was a tragedy. It was a street opera, is how I thought of it, and he really got that.
Brian Helgeland, who I'd been working with on another project at the time as a screenwriter, it turns out he's from Boston also.
It was similar to LA Confidential in a way because it was 3 main characters, so it was just trying to get to the core of each one of those characters and what their journey in the film is.
My reaction to the screenplay was really over the moon. I can't really describe the thrill.
The great thing about doing a book as well as a film is it's something there's a lot of character detail that's given to you. It's like a little actor's gift.
One of the things that I draw on these things is the writing and the other actors, and so there was a lot of time that we spent just reading through the script and trying to find the things that we could do that would serve the characters in the piece.
Clint doesn't like to rehearse, and I'm okay with that.
Sometimes you get a great rehearsal and then you spend hours trying to get a take that is half as good. So I like to try to shoot the rehearsal, but not always.
We got these short days, and we asked Clint if it'd be all right if we read through the script a few times. We wound up having about 5 read-throughs of the script.
Because Clint has such an established body of work, you had some sense of, while this was its own piece of material, that his storytelling had a great, clear humility to it always. And then whatever had to do with this sort of nuancing of character choices and things like that, it became just a shorter hand exchange with Clint on set.
It's a great thing to be around someone who has given so much and who has so much experience and who is still interested in what he does. He loves it. He still loves it. And, you know, it's heaven. And you hear from a lot of people that it's the best experience anyone has had.
Usually there is a level of kind of anxiety and nervousness that permeates any given set. And on Clint's set, it's as cool as a summer breeze all the time.
It's got to be the the best experience I've had making a film to date.
I think Sean put it best when he said he's the least disappointing American icon he's ever met.
The first time I saw a scene, it was a block and a half away from where I'd been living when I got the idea for the book. The big thing that you're worried about is you're always going to hear a jarring difference between the voice in your head when you wrote the book and the actors' voices as they say your lines. And I was walking along watching this, and it all sounded dead on. It sounded like the voices I had in my head when I was writing it.
How long?
How long what?
How long before you catch my daughter's killer? I need to know.
You bargaining with us?
Bargaining?
You giving us a deadline? We'll speak for Katie, Mr. Buck, if that's okay with you.
You just find my daughter's killer, Sergeant. I'm not standing in your way.